Friends, fans, and fine folk, grab your drinks and snacks and come on down around the campfire for this in-person short rest with me and my friends at Wootenforge. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hey Rob, really good man. How are you?
Excellent. Very good. All right. So first things first, as always with a short rest stream, we're going to be just somebody give me a shout out if we're not good for audio. We did do an audio test, but we both have a directional mic. So if you're hearing too much of an echo, you just let us know and we'll turn off one of those mics and make it work. Is it all good? Dead Aussie Gamers in the chat says that we're all good with audio and things. Excellent. Good to know. Red also says saying it's good. Excellent, wonderful. Well, this is a first for me. I've done a lot of short rest series. You can see them all on my YouTube with interviewing all kinds of people, from people who are literally brand new to the game. There was a streamer once that had never played before, but she was really enjoying it. So I was like, oh, that's a perfect opportunity because
Yeah,
I've asked her about how she's getting into D&D, and that I think she'd played one game or something, all the way through to people who've been playing like for 40 years and stuff. But I've never yet done one in person. But it's worked out really well for me being in person with you guys.
yeah, it's awesome.
So I like to start out a short rest by saying if we're having a short rest in the game, what are we in the middle of? What's the mission, or what are we involved in the middle of that needs a short rest? Are we like on a quest to assassinate a king, or are we just simple like go slay some rats?
Recovering spell slots at the moment.
Recovering spell slots, yeah. You guys sound like you've been working very busy at Livy, so
Yeah, pretty
I
busy.
think we're I think we're
Doing all the
in the
stuff
middle
at
of
once.
we're in the middle of one of these situations you get into in D&D where you've got like seven different quests open. You're like, I'm not sure which to do, and so
That's how it feels.
we're probably just gone back to town and had a short rest. And what are we drinking around the campfire?
We'd probably be in a tavern.
We're in a
We'd
tavern
probably be in a tavern, to be fair, yeah.
and we're recovering spell slots. What are we drinking at this short rest?
Well, this is a long black, but traditionally it'd be a whiskey.
Whiskey, whiskey's your character's drink of choice.
It's dwarvish fire whiskey.
Some sort of dwarvish ales.
Yeah.
I always have to think about it in characters. It's way more of a decision than it should be, really, shouldn't it?
Oh no, it's mandatory. It should be on the character sheet.
You have to go right. Okay, what do they order?
We spent far too long, like in games, like ordering drinks, ordering snacks, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And the DM's like, "Come on, keep going."
I've got
That's
a
me.
story. I've got a story to get to, and you're like, no. We'll role play it in real time around this tavern.
No, bar shenanigans is a legitimate episode for a D&D campaign.
It is,
100%.
and it's quite often. I was just talking to somebody last night about how one of my favorite roleplay moments was in one of the games that I'm a GM for hire for. They spent most of the game having a date with somebody.
Cute.
The dwarf started flirting with an NPC, and I was like, I'll go with it. And they ended up asking them on a date, and then the rest of the party took it as like a little side quest.
Hell
And
yeah.
they were like, "Oh, I'm going to go pick some flowers for you." Rolled some survival to see the best flowers, and then some nature checks to like cut them properly without them wilting. And then another person was off doing some like buffing the armor and like polishing it up, so they looked really nice. Somebody else was braiding hair, and I had them rolling all these different skill checks. And eventually, like they went on the date and took them off to a tavern and just like sat. The rest of the party sat in a different table, a couple of tables over, and we're just like peering over with perception checks to see how the date's going. the rest of them doing like performance checks on the date.
Way less chaotic than the bar side quests. So,
It's so good.
True.
And then I hear about people who are like, oh, romance has no place in D&D. Romance,
No way.
you gotta play them out.
It's part of the human condition.
Yeah,
Part of
it's
this
a
game
big part
is
of what people want to. And another aspect of that is that one time I allowed that in another game, one of my home games, where somebody was dating and exploring romance with an NPC. And that helped that player to recognize their own sexuality and ended up coming out because they'd gotten the opportunity to roleplay that in a safer way. So it was like removed from me as a person and see how my friends are okay with me exploring this homosexual relationship in game. And then was like, actually, I think this is right. I think it does have a position in the game.
It's one of the really cool things about the juxtaposition of roleplay, and why it's such important for tabletop gaming in general is just being able to explore an emotion or explore a reaction or explore a circumstance that you're never going to kill an orc for
No.
sure, but being presented with these situations and being able to proxy your way through them is is really important. It's one of the most appealing things I think as part of the
Yeah, I reckon
as role
I'd
playing.
agree as well. Like just having that extra place where you can act out things that you don't get a chance to, or not sure if you want to
Yeah,
in real life, and kind of explore that side of you as well.
yeah,
It's not like a really sacred thing, isn't it? Like I can imagine as a DM, like having that person, try to explore these sort of areas of themselves that,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
first time in a safe space.
I used to jam for kids as well, and it was really good to see kids exploring different avenues of themselves because they would switch up characters like nobody's business. They get bored of a character, in the next session they're like, ah, he dies. Playing this good guy now, and they'd be playing all these different aspects, and you'd see some really shy kids being like, "I'm a raging barbarian warrior."
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
So I like to start out a short rest around a campfire or around a tavern fire. It seems by talking about the names first. So Wootenforge, where did the name Wootenforge come from?
Wootenforge. Well, at least the story that I tell myself from what I remember is our first D&D game. Well, my first D&D game, I should say.
Yeah,
You've been playing D&D for ages,
too
but um, you know, Nathan set up a game and he invited all his friends, myself included, to play. And I rolled a character called a Wootenforge. It was the dwarf, hill dwarf, divination wizard.
Hillwolf Divination
Yeah,
Wizard. And that was your first ever D&D
first
character?
ever character. I had no idea what D&D was about. Really, kind of looked a bit weird to me, but
Yeah.
everyone seemed to be having fun. So
What,
I
do you,
thought,
what made you go, I'll give it a go?
well, I think previously I used to play like computer games, like on
right.
the PC and that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. And I kind of got a bit frustrated with the way the whole industry was going in terms of having to pay like
Right,
microtransactions and
yeah, yeah,
DLCs, and it seemed like they were really trying to capitalize on fun.
yeah.
So I was always like looking for that element of good old fashioned fun with your friends that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
really could find previous to that.
Yeah.
But for D&D, that was basically exactly what I was looking for.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and let's hope the people in charge of it now remember that that's what it's about. And
I hope
that's the
so.
reason that a lot
Yeah.
of people got into it and cut back on this sort of capitalism, monopolizing. Let's try and make as much money from it as we can. And it's like,
At the end of the day, it belongs to friends sitting
yeah,
around a table,
exactly.
throwing dice at each other.
100%.
Yeah, that's the romantic,
Mm.
sentimental, beautiful part of it.
Yeah.
I like that you didn't say throwing dice, just throwing dice at each other.
We've all played Dungeons and Dragons before.
Stop it, just put a story in my.
Yeah. I think back down to games should be fun. It's as simple as
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. So I know you've got a little
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Wootenforge mini.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that on
I'll,
screen.
I'll show it off on my
Yeah.
one and see if
There
see
you
if
go.
I can get a nice close up of it. Look at that live shot rest. You can pass things between the guests
That's right.
and person in charge. So this was your first ever character,
That's right.
and this was printed posthumously, presumably, like after that campaign had long finished.
It's
Oh, is
it's
it?
kind of still going.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. How long is that now?
3 years.
3 years.
Something like that.
Wow.
Wow.
3 years.
Taking a little hiatus is life gets busy.
Breaks in between.
Isn't it the way?
Yeah.
I've got a home game that I still think of as on hiatus rather than cancelled, but I don't think we've played in over a year
Yeah.
because one of the players had a baby, another couple of them had life things happen, and so it's like, and then I got super busy with other things. And
Yeah.
like my schedule's like a hermit crab that just keeps like I'll cut things out to be like, man, I need a break. I need to stop overworking myself. I'll say no to this and I'll say no to that and I'll stop that project and I'll only stream 2 days a week instead of 4 days a week. And then as soon as I've made those changes, it's like, and you're back to being completely busy,
Yeah,
hectic.
clearing out the schedule just makes more space
Just
for other
more space for other things to be
It's
like,
just a
and we're
vacuum.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one to sort of balance, but I like to think you'd be able to come back to that game at some point as well.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
fall
for
back
sure.
into
I've
the
still got all the
characters.
ideas of what we were
Yeah.
doing and where I was going and all that rest of it. So the name for the company Wootenforge came from your character Wootenforge, but that just pushes the goal still post back one step further. Where did you come up with the name?
Well, I think it's loosely based on my name, obviously.
Right.
Being my first character, I wasn't very creative for my name generation, I have to say.
Well, you know,
I was
it's okay.
Yeah.
playing with someone who was playing for the first time, and she was playing a wizard and called them Voldemort. So, yeah,
So,
and well, and for my first character, I was playing a monk, and so I was like famous monks, Freitag. but it was an elf. So I went into the player's handbook, and a bunch of the elven name suggestions had Anil on the end of it, like Feranil or something, and I was like, Tuk Anil. And that was meant to say, you get generate names from wherever you get them.
Yeah.
And so, what made you choose to use your character's name when you started the business, started the company?
I don't know. I think. Well, Wootenforge, the character, always sort of had a tie to like innovating and creating and exploration. He's got a quite an in-depth backstory as well, which Nathan helped flesh out.
Mm.
So it was kind of like a natural progression. Because, it's essentially what we do here is we create things, we build things, we forge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We'll show off a couple of the things you've built in a second. So, how did it begin? Like, where did Wootenforge actually start? Who had the first idea for it and everything?
well, I think while playing the game, um, we sort of I got into dice,
Yeah.
collecting dice.
Absolutely. As soon as they're into D&D, they're like, where can money go? And where dice from?
Yeah.
Much.
It's cheaper than Magic the Gathering, but not by much.
It's my guilty pleasure, I suppose. I love collecting dice, all sorts of different types of dice.
Mm.
And I never really had anywhere to store them safely. So, sort of at the same time, I was into woodworking, into just starting to get into woodworking, I guess. I built a few things. I was building an electric guitar with my garage, with like various tools that I had acquired over the years.
Yeah.
And I thought I could probably build like a dice box. So
Yeah.
We brought it in, and I asked him where he bought it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's always good
I
stuff.
was like, oh, that's pretty good. Where'd you get it? Where'd you pick it up from? Oh, no, I made it. And literally, the first thing that came out of my mouth was bullshit.
So you were only just getting into woodwork at the time?
Yeah.
So you haven't been into woodwork your whole life? It was
No.
a more recent.
No, I haven't. I've always liked working with my hands,
Yeah.
but not so much woodworking.
Nice.
When I picked up a piece of wood, I knew it was something I wanted to do instantly.
That's nice.
Just that satisfaction you get from shaping something rough that has been grown in nature to something really beautiful. When you saw it when you were
I'm far from a hands-on sort of a person. I'm the black sheep of my family in that respect. Everybody else does like hands-on jobs. My brothers are both joiners and carpenters and work with wood their whole lives. But even I, when I was going through it the other day, as people can see on my Instagram, the whole process of going like, this is a raw piece of timber, and then you can cut it and plane it and shape it, and then you've got this finished product. There's something about the uniqueness of it that's the real sort of draw for me.
Yeah.
Like if I was to ever get into it, it's because that every piece of wood is unique.
Yeah, it's like spinning out a character in a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Every single facet of board of wood has a unique character. You get a knot because the wood is turned in this way for some environmental reason.
Right. Yeah.
And it just adds to the story of these funny little things that we make. And each one has its own personality, and sometimes they won't behave, and sometimes they'll explode. And it's a very human thing, wood, I think.
Yeah.
People have loved it for
humans have been using wood in some respect for tens of thousands of years.
Since people really have a connection to it as well. As I was saying, like the first thing people do when they see dice box, they want to pick it up and touch it.
Yeah,
you just don't get that kind of reaction from other materials.
You don't get a plastic or anything like that.
So you made your first dice box just for yourself. It was obviously a hit. It was a good enough quality that it looked like I bought one. And then where did the idea to actually start making them as a business come from?
I think you suggested I started doing something with it.
Yeah. Well, no, I think I complained that I didn't have one.
You didn't have one.
And then I asked you to make me a tabletop screen.
That's right.
And the box drawings were almost perfect for that. And it was like the third thing you've ever made to wood. And it's got a 27-inch TV screen.
You should have bought that.
Oh, yeah, it's so nice. And then I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. and the snowball effect happens, and then I'll show it off to someone else, and then we'll go to an adventurers
Cool, can I
league.
get one of those?
Yeah,
Can you get me one? Yeah. Suddenly,
and then it's like, oh well, we should start getting a bit serious. Okay, let's spin up the website. Let's spin up the logo, and the first logo was a little janky. It was just a paint job job that I did while I was meant to be working at my actual job, and we used that for a while, and eventually the evolution of the business is now that we've got the proper the crest, which you've seen up front.
Yeah, and they can see below me on the screen right there.
Yeah.
Tell me about the logo. I like to ask about logos as well. Like, where did the idea for it come from, and how did you get a decent one made? Not in Microsoft Paint.
Well, we
Fancy version.
had it properly done. The name Wootenforge, I think there's a loose translation somewhere. My gut feel is that, but that's not right. Wooden forge.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
I can talk more to this because my surname is Aaron, so it's actually a British name. I traced it back through my sort of ancestry path, and the name was actually it used to be wooden. So somewhere along the line got changed to wooden. I'm not sure why, but I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Given
Yeah,
that I work with wood. Yeah.
So I love that Wootenforge came about because of you naming your character, and the character came from just a dwarven expansion of your own name. But before that, your name came from. If we keep pushing it back, like where did the name come from?
Yeah,
From wooden. That's perfect.
just the back as far as
It's
available records.
it's that's a thing called nominative determinism, where a person with a particular name ends up going into a career with a similar thing. It happens more often than random chance. Like, for some reason, like there are more dentists called Dennis than Denise, and things like that. And there are people who with surname Baker that don't come from a family of bakers but end up becoming bakers.
Yeah, my surname's Elder, and I just keep getting older.
Yeah, just getting older. Yeah. All right, so you got into the business at that point. Was like, let's start actually making these things. Were you in it as a pair right from the very beginning?
Yeah, basically, Nathan and I have been friends since we were 4.
Oh yeah, so we're talking like it's pushing 35 years now. I've been trying to get rid of him for years, but Hotel California.
Yeah.
39.
So you were like, right, let's go in from that, because there's some difficulty in that. Was there apprehension, like going into business with a friend can be
really?
No.
We've always gone on adventures together.
Right, it's not a side.
This is one of them.
Right.
Yeah, it's just another thing. We play music together.
Oh, yeah.
And the arguments when you're creating a song are the similar kind
Yeah,
of things.
yeah,
But
yeah,
over 30 years, it's almost a marriage at this point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, fine, this is some stupid thing we're doing now. And you just resign yourself to the madness sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking from personal experience, we've playing D&D.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was my stupid idea.
Yeah.
Aaron, sit down, shut up. Here's a glass of red wine. Roll
these.
the
Roll these.
Yeah,
What do I do?
roll
Just
these.
roll when I
Just-
tell you to
just-
roll.
Yeah, just roll that one.
Yeah.
No, don't roll that one. It's rolling too well. Roll this. Oh, that's worse. And these side quests happen over 30 odd years.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about that particular game was for me realizing that the game engine is kind of unlimited. You can do whatever you want. There's no limitations.
Yeah.
A decent DM or GM will find a way to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. It's I try to describe it to people when people ask what I do and they don't know the game. I'll be like, do you know one of those choose your own ending books? Imagine that, but when you get to the bottom of the page, there's infinite options.
Yeah.
you can write your own option, and there'll be a page you can turn to do that.
Yeah, it's the best explanation that I've had is it's a choose your own adventure book combined with an old school radio show.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because it's got that collaborative that vocal storytelling that the theatre of the mind that radio has. Yeah. I like that. Let's do one.
But I guess just sort of switching back to the business, sort of both of us used to work, in the technology sector,
Right.
and we always found that there was an element sort of missing. For me, it was firstly having a challenge, secondly being creative, and thirdly doing more good.
Right.
The doing good stuff is something that we both gravitated towards quite naturally. what's the point in doing this if you're not going to propagate some good in the world? There's a bunch of horrible things. Let's maybe shine a few lights in some nice places.
One of my mantras, as it were, is like to leave every day better than it.
Yeah. And that resonated with us. So from day one of the things that we've really wanted to do here is push as much good back into the world. And that's one of the beautiful and romantic things about this community more broadly is that it's so inclusive and so generous and kind. And, the community as a broad hive mind ultimately rejects things that don't align with that kind of generous
that is what I find as well, like off of Twitter.
For sure.
Yeah.
That you'll see, and not to start shout outs, but people like Josh the Pirate and Dreaded GM who go and do these amazing charity shows. Just really embody the best of the community.
Yeah.
And really
actually helping real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things that I struggled with a lot. I'm getting better at acknowledging it now, but it's one of those things I struggled with, especially at the beginning, where I would look at what I'm doing and go, I'm making stupid stories and stuff. Like I'm not getting out there and helping people and saving lives and stuff. But more and more over the years, I get random emails or messages, comments, and things, DMs from people saying, "Hey, you have literally saved my life because I was in a really dark place, and like VLDL D&D was the only thing that kept me going, or like the Twitch Tales series that you run it really helps, and like stories and escapism, especially through the pandemic and things, can really lift up spirits and
storytelling is an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah, I've gotten better at acknowledging, like, okay, I'm doing the things I'm making are helping people as well.
It's valuable when it is a gift.
Yeah. What's the old adage? The rock doesn't remember the ripples.
Right,
So you throw a rock into a pond and the rock just sinks. Whatever. Okay, I'm here now. But the ripples are what change the riverbanks and change the ducks and all of that. It's
How did you feel when you heard that what you've done and changed people's lives?
I'm pretty sure I cried the first time that somebody messaged me to say that, like, because it was in response to something that I'd been saying on stream. I'd been talking on stream about like sort of self-deprecating in a kind of way, being like, yeah, I'm doing all right, but like you guys should spend your money on people who actually help. And then somebody reached out and said, like, I don't want to hear you talking like that because of this thing. This is something that you have directly helped me with and things. And I was like,
it's very powerful.
Yeah,
you never know what people are going through, and if you can create a little spark of joy in their day for half an hour, 45 minutes, then what an amazingly cherishable gift to give to someone without even knowing.
Yeah, I'm pretty much a god. So when you started the business, did you guys naturally fall into like your own separate kind of roles within it? Do you have your own strengths within Wootenforge?
We've been reasonably successful in our other careers. So bringing some of that into the business, we kind of fall into that regular patterns of the relationship, and it translates into how the business is run. I've been a dungeon master for eons of years, so a lot of the
it's not
hiding and
you didn't come to the business being like, oh, let's just do this for money. Like you know the game, you enjoy the game, you've got passion for the game.
You never did it for money.
It's not about it. This is for the sheer enjoyment of doing your hobby for a job. So it's not about money at all. That's not why we do it. We do it for
you do have to run a business ultimately.
For sure.
You can still have fun. You can still do good. You can still be creative.
That's the driver of this. To really be able to give back.
For sure. Wonderful. So what sort of roles have you taken on now that you sort of divvy up the daily tasks between?
So a lot of the getting the story out is very naturally me. I've done all the writing. So when we ship out one of our products, there's a little card you get, and I'll use an example to tell the story. There's a little card and it tells a little bit about our story, but also tells a little bit of story about the wood and the history of where these trees come from and what they've been historically used for. One of my favourite ones is she oak. I think that's one of the ones I had the most fun researching. Indigenous Australians will use she oak boughs historically to place their babies on. And it keeps the snakes away, I think. Just the scent or the natural medicinal properties of the trees do that. And finding that out was very special. We'll make, we've got pens that we've got hand turned, and just the
I think the whole telling the story element of the product is kind of your baby.
Yeah, I think so. And that was very important to me because we care a lot about where the wood comes from and the stories and the journeys of the living tree to come to be able to roll your dice in. And being able to give that to the person who's spending their hard earned on something we've made was very important to kind of continue that.
So it certainly is a good element of when you're buying wood-based products to have that extra personal touch. Because it's certainly something that came through when I got my first Wootenforge product, the dice tray that Dred gave me for Christmas. And it had the little thing in it, the little plaque in it that's talked about the wooden tea tree and things. And Vegas don't actually use tea tree for your products yet. And I was like, it's that extra feeling of I feel really special.
Yeah, and that's that entire thought process of making it special for the person who's going to be using it. These are heirloom quality pieces, and it's going to last forever almost. But
it's really like it was one of the first things that struck me about my dice box was like this is really really durable and well made, and the magnets as well just feel like that's just the perfect amount of like stick. To not
we went through a lot of testing
like,
to get those magnets right.
Yeah, and I think that leads quite nicely onto the ISD and
and
that's more your side of things.
Yeah. I remember we went through a stage of testing various magnets. I think one of the first prototypes we did, the magnets are way too strong.
I still got
that one. And it's so strong it almost like cuts your finger off.
Yeah, that's my one. I have to keep it away from my child because he'll lose his nose in it.
And at the same time, if you make it too weak, then your dice will
fall out in your back.
So you've got to. There's a lot of R&D and design work that goes into the products. It's very deliberate and thought out.
You can definitely tell because it's something like that is really recognizable that you go because woodwork with a lot of things is like one of those where if you've done it well you might not notice because it's just smooth, it just works, it just feels right. It's when it's like splintered or sharp or something that you're going to notice and be like, that's workmanship. But if you don't, if it's not drawing your attention and you're not into wood, you're just going to be like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, good design is invisible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the magnets are like because you're using them every day, it's a thing that reminds you like that's a good. There's obviously been thought put into that element of it, and that draws your attention to like the way that the finger holds are beveled, and you're like that feels right in the fingers and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's obviously been that amount of amount of thought has gone into each of the different
Even the
designs.
sound, even listening to click.
It clacks together.
Oh, it's just got dice in it, probably.
No.
But that real satisfying click is that's what I like the most about some of the rejects that I've got. I take all the rejects because then I don't have to pay for them. But I can always make a xylophone out of the different sounds I get from click, 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 click.
So
a lot of these woods are actually used in instruments as well. So
that actually was bringing me on to the next thing. So we talked about a little bit about the different woods. You tend to source Australian woods
by design.
Yeah, we can get wood from anywhere, but we're very much about promoting Australia.
Getting local. And
with the tragics of this funny old country, and one thing we think that all Australians are is quite parochial. And Kiwis will have it as well. But there's something special about having something that's made in Australia with Australian tools by Australians, and it tells a nice story.
Locally made stuff.
We see that disappearing a little bit, so it's quite important to us to.
The world gets more and more connected, so more and more global, and that local and individual cultures come back. And it really shows because, as I say, my brothers have worked with wood their whole life, And when they saw me doing this, one of them sent me a message saying, "I never thought I'd live to see the day you pick up a power tool." One of me doing the orbital center. And he goes, "I never thought I'd see the day. You're working with wood, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I showed them all of the videos and things. And they were like, and I showed them the one of us going over in that far corner, going through the different woods to choose which one I was going to use, and they were like, "Never even heard of half of them." They've worked with it their whole life, and I was like, "Yeah, they're all Australian woods."
Well, that's part of the other issue is that Australian woods aren't really that well recognised internationally, and they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
People don't realise how beautiful those woods actually are.
Incredible features, incredible properties, structural integrity. One of our favourite woods to work with is bloody Jarrah. And it's essentially concrete. It's
really
it's
dense.
that powerful stuff. All this to make
Burn out all your drill bits real quick, though.
Oh yeah.
It does. Historically, Jarrah's been used for like railway sleepers and like
right, durable
trusses and things like that because it's so dense and durable.
Floorboards and decking, way back in the day.
Yeah.
And,
So if your GM starts throwing those at you, pick up your jar.
Oh yeah, the dice will be gone. I'm throwing my diamond dice at you. I use Jarrah. It's super effective.
So not exclusively though, because the other day I was hearing you said that you had some South American purple something, or it was purple hat.
Yeah, we get in all sorts of stuff for.
And that's because your supplier will be like, "Hey, we've just taken apart this thing. We've got this usable."
Sometimes there's an old board or something lying around, and the supplier wants to sell it off. So it's decent condition, and we'll have a look at it and see if we can make something.
Yeah.
A lot of those woods end up in our custom shop.
Right.
So we've got a sort of production side of the business, which is everything you see on the website.
Yeah. That's
got our orders. If someone wants something that's not on the website or something completely different to what we make, we can do that as well.
Right.
We pretty much make anything.
Yeah, we're quite fortunate with the suppliers that we have. We've got some really good relationships with some incredible people that can source this stuff from literally their back pocket. Like, conjure purple heart, conjure black heart sassafras.
Yeah.
And we really like that those relationships allow us the opportunity to have those little special pieces. We get a lot of reclaimed timber as well, which is fun to keep the story of that wood going. To go back to my
majority of what we use is reclaimed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's things that have been used once on like a building.
That's right.
The building is demolished and the
floorboards or a bench or something.
Right.
Oh, we pulled this out of a farmhouse, so we pulled it.
Adds
out
to
of
the
shed.
story.
Yeah,
so can you keep track of that once you've like cut them into individual planks and things, and then you put those in the little plaques of the.
We usually have like allotments, and they sort of fit in there.
Right.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is a lot of those reclaimed woods are the most beautiful woods we have as well.
Yeah.
There's the age and they've been seasoned, and I don't know, they just end up looking really fantastic.
Yeah.
I suppose there's also the selection bias of the fact that they've been used in the first place. Like if they were used for floorboards, you want a durable wood, but you also want it to look nice enough that you want.
There is that for sure.
Or if it was used for a desk or a table or something, then they would have selected a wood that already looked pretty nice.
Yeah. Plus, it tells a story that the wood's been used somewhere else, and I think customers appreciate that as well.
Yeah. So, other end of things then, what is your least favourite wood to work with? Either because it's a pain in the ass, it's always breaking, or it's
camphor laurel.
Camphor laurel?
Camphor laurel.
Camphor laurel.
So it smells like
it's camphor. Yeah, like we use to prevent moths and.
It
smells like
mothballs.
But the fibers in it are so loose that it just puffs up when you put a tool near it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard to work with.
It's a mongrel.
Yeah,
it's an absolute mongrel.
It's also a challenge.
You still, it gives you that challenge.
Yeah.
So you still work with it every so often?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't know, right? Okay.
That smells nice.
What sort of proportions do you have to take?
Just in terms of how you cut it, different settings than what we normally use for our hardwoods.
The technique really goes into it.
Because that's something, isn't it? Like if you were doing the same, because you were showing me the CNC machine, I'm going to remember it, computer numerical control.
You got it.
Yeah.
We
we were using that to create the dice box, which I will be showing off later this stream. And we were saying that if you were just cutting it out of something like resin or something, then it'd be the same settings for whatever. But because you're using wood and wood has specific grain, and even two different planks of jarrah would have different grains. Things you have to be aware of that when you're doing all the settings for it, and
That's right.
and it's mainly just trial and error to be like,
Pretty
well,
much.
let's choose the slower setting this time, or
Yeah, it's very much an art as well as a
yeah,
science at the same time.
yeah,
So you
it's
kind of
kind of
have to
getting feeling
understand
for
all
it
these
through
changing
experience.
variables and
Yeah.
sort of adapt to suit.
The wood will breathe, the wood will respond to moisture, the wood will.
Right.
It's very organic is a obvious word to use.
It's random.
It's living.
Yeah.
Like even boards on on the racks they'll change. They'll bend and they'll move in unpredictable ways, and
Yeah,
it's
you got to know that stuff from
sorcery.
experience.
It's magical.
Had you ever worked with wood yourself?
Little bits and bobs, but nothing to this effect.
No.
The snowball is real,
Yeah.
and you kind of you hold on to the horse as it's running downhill, and mostly screaming, mostly
Yeah,
screaming.
you're getting dragged.
I like to think we're more of a technology company than a woodworking company.
Right. Yeah.
Because the backgrounds we've come from and also the approach we take to manufacturing, um, consistently sort of improving, looking at various types of automation to help make the job a bit easier.
Yeah.
But there is also a craftsman element involved as well.
Yeah, of
Human
course.
touch.
That shone the other day when it was a beautiful blending of like, we're going to use this machine which will cut this whole thing out, but then you give it to that guy who can put this bit down, and then you put this through this machine again, and then you come back and stand this bit up and give it to that machine to do its thing, and then come back and put the magnets in by hand.
Yeah,
This beautiful sort of
and
dance.
that still makes it quite satisfying to go and get your hands dirty and build it.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not just this production line of machines building a car or whatever.
Yeah.
There is that, everything's hand sanded.
At what point along the journey did you say we need to find a forge? We need to find a big old can't work for my garage anymore.
Yeah, I could fit my car in my garage.
Yeah, I came over his house one day and I'm like, yeah, you've got spiderwebs growing on your car mirror. And
it's covered in wood dust.
Yeah, it's covered in dust. And
it was so dusty.
I'd walk into your house and there'd be like bags of sawdust in the hallway. I'm like, all right.
The hallway, in the garage, please.
In the room.
Yeah, in the bedroom.
Hey, you're into what you're into, man.
It's not sawdust, it's man glitter.
Yeah, that's exactly. But yeah, it got criticalness.
Yeah. And you were like, this is too much. We need a place. Was this the first place you got that was, or if you got?
We were. We spent a long time looking for a place, and like I almost gave up because it was just so hard. Every single place had issues and problems and things like that, and just by chance, we stumbled across this place and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And it's really close to where I live too, which is a bonus.
That is a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, bonus and a curse because you're like, I suppose I'll just pop into work now. It's like when you work from home and you go like, I'll just it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still working because there's no cut-off time to go home.
Yeah, but that's great. There's lots of space, lots of room for us to sort of expand. We can fit bigger machinery in now.
Experiment space as well and storage. It's not all bolted onto the side of your house, which is quite nice.
Yeah, we're sort of it opens up a lot of possibilities for us in terms of like products we can make or even the volume of products we can pump out now.
Right.
There's only so much you can do in a garage.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do with just the two of you. So, at what point did you start to expand into hiring others?
I think it kind of expanded organically, really.
I was like, hey, this is too much. We've reached as much as I can do.
We will collect people.
Yeah.
And as you do in this industry, you'll find relationships. You'll become friends with Bob Hartley GM, or we'll meet, the dreaded GM or Better the Gamer. And you just collect
through my finger in chat.
Legends, absolute legends. That was completely unintentional, but it's great to see both of you. But you collect these people. We've got a couple of friends who were in the first campaign that we started together with 3D printers, and so they've come along. And the sign at the front was made by one of the guys in the original game.
So there's this organic growth.
People just hear about us and get in contact as well.
And
I try to find people with complementary skill sets.
Right.
We've got people that can do woodworking, people that can do metal work, people with 3D printing and design. all sorts of things,
3D
machinery,
modeling.
3D modeling. And I guess we're trying to build this conglomerate of complementary skills. So really we can build anything. As an example, the other day we built a bridge. Yeah, an actual bridge.
It's like a
To walk over.
To walk over a bridge to go over a pool for a friend's wedding.
That's impressive.
For a friend, but it's not for the forge exciting. Yeah.
Exactly. It's also a friend.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And so we designed this thing up, 3D modeled it, ordered steel, welded it together, added all the trimmings and things like that, and took it to the place where the wedding was held, and it was used, and it worked.
I love it. I love the use of metalwork because it takes it from that wooden part to the forge part.
Exactly.
Got wood. It's almost like you're saying wood and forge. Wood and forge.
And forge.
Yeah,
The name is the gift that keeps on
Wootenforge. So metalwork. Speaking of that, how did you get into that as well? Because we talked about how you sort of decided on making dice things out of wood, but at what point did you go, let's try metal as well?
I think every time we acquire a new person, they bring in a skill.
Oh, I also do
and
this.
then we sort of knowledge share that as well.
Yeah, it's Pokemon training for sure.
So we find they may require skills in some areas, and we can share that with them, and they can share their skills with us.
Oh, really?
And everyone just benefits in the
And what's
long
the
run.
size of the team?
Team, we've got 4 guys, and myself, Nathan.
Mm.
So
do you have titles, role titles?
No.
Work at Wootenforge.
Very war on titles.
Yeah.
CEO, Supreme Lord, Commander.
It's
nothing like that. It's the round table. Yeah, things just need to get done, and
it describes what we do as well.
things just work.
But it's incredible work. That's fair enough. I got to witness some of your metalwork the other day, just in the in this beautiful little coin that you created for me using the some sort of laser engraver. What was the name of this laser engraver thing?
Fiber laser.
Fiber laser. Yeah. So it comes in this beautiful plastic case, but for the sake of not having reflection on the camera there, I'll take it out. We've got a beautiful Wootenforge brass coin here, and then on the other side, Robert Hartley logo.
Yes,
personalized Robert Hartley Wootenforge coin. I love it so much. It's got a really nice weight to it as well. So this is sort of the bread and butter of your metalworking side of things. Like I see a bunch, and I showed them off on my Instagram the other day. I showed a bunch of different sort of custom designs of your coins. You get a lot of people wanting.
Yeah, the coins are doing quite well. And in fact, something I didn't expect was like a lot of demand in the corporate sector as well for these coins. Gift ideas or celebrate anniversaries. So kind of pivoting into that market as well at this point, which is nice.
Yeah. And you have you also sort of complement that by also having coin boxes, right? The display ones.
That's right. I'll get you one.
We'll grab you one. Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
They sort of just there's like a dual function box. They serve as a stand and also
showed it the other day, and the whole process of putting together the dice box that I'm going to be showing off. I'm going to be. I ended up with way more footage than can fit on Instagram stories. So I was like, I'm going to turn this into an actual YouTube video for my YouTube channel, and like put together like an actual video of the entire process with all of the supplemental content. Cool. But as part of that, I showed off one of the dice, the coin boxes. That sits beautifully flat and flush when it's closed, and then it's got a little slit in it that you can stand up and display. It's beautiful work, and it really juxtaposes the wood and the metal work that you guys do here. Very cool.
And we're constantly coming up with ideas for how the coins can be used. Even people giving us ideas, or coming up with unique use cases for them. I'm sure you could probably think of a few.
Recently I had some coins printed because I recently got myself a 3D printer, a resin printer, and I'm trying to make the most of it as possible. So make it pay for itself.
That's a rabbit hole.
I printed a mini, and as soon as I started printed and finished, I was like,
I must create more.
What else can be made from these things?
A fine edition.
I had some hero point coins given because I instead of DM inspiration, I call it hero point to try and differentiate from bardic inspirations. and if somebody does something cool, I'll give them a hero point that they can use for a reroll later. And now I can physically give them a hero point token. It has my logo on it and the words hero point around it.
Hell yeah.
And it's got the VLDL logo on the other side, so that when we give it to the VLDL guys, they can have it on their side. Yeah, and then I was immediately, as soon as I created those coins, I was like, cool, what are the coins could create a D20 coin that was just a 1 and a 2, or a 20 and a 1, or create this, you could create inspiration, you could create initiative trackers from me present.
Snowball.
The stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hardest part is coming up with ideas.
The thing that I really like about the metal coins, though, that are engraved rather than the printed ones, is that the resin one looks really nice. It's got good detail. It's really easy and quick and cheap to make, but it doesn't have that weight. When you flick it, it's just resin.
Yeah.
It flies off.
The weight is what people notice first about them. It looks like some aluminium or something like that. But if you go, this feels like a gold coin.
It's like a gold coin, yeah. You could even do that. You could just have a bunch of like the coins from D&D, the gold and silver and whatever, for the people who are more tactile. Yeah. I play with one guy who has a couple of silver coins that he just keeps in his dice bag because he loves to, like, he's almost on the verge of laughing. He's the one who's always standing up. He's got a plastic sword, and whenever they're doing downtime, he's like sharpening it with a whiteboard eraser.
The dream.
Yeah, exactly. He's super into it, and he's always like standing up to like act out his attacks and things. I turn my miss into it. I turn around and I swing and I hit him. Blah blah blah. And then whenever he pays for something, he's now like flicking fines at people. So yeah,
I'll just get in touch with us. We'll sort it out.
He's actually another creator. He's Spidey NZ. He's an illustrator and an animator by trade, and he's done a bunch of the animation work for the Viva guys. He's actually the one who put me in touch with the Viva guys in the first place.
Oh wow, awesome!
Yeah, that's a good guy.
Awesome.
So let's start showing off some of the products you make. Yeah, you've got a couple pieces here that I'd love to see.
Yeah, no worries. I'm very engaged. So this is how we call this now.
It's a dice tray, adventurous bundle.
Thank you. So this is the adventurous bundle. It's 2 parts. We've got a dice tray. This is Chewit, and that's vegetable tan leather, which is the highest quality leather you can get.
We haven't talked about your leather work, but I'm sure as well.
We collected it with a leather worker. So there's a reserve for the dice, and you can roll in there. The other way around, live your best life. But there's like
like with the Viva guys, we have dice boxes made for them, and then they just use them to store the dice and roll on the table.
You've got to be doing that with like precious gemstones.
It's all one piece of wood. Like it's all carved from one little bit, which is this sort of,
no plywood on the plywood.
I love that.
Yeah, it's all you can try to chew it for the first round of these because it's such a dense high silica wood, so you can get the thin grain cut. Yeah, right, and it's very stable. Feet.
And what do you use for the feet here? Just some simple,
just some rubber screws.
Yeah.
And it fits 3 adventurous chests in it. We tested.
All right.
The adventurous chests come with a little foam insert to protect your expensive dice, but the adventurous chest will fit in quite nicely. You can get 2 in
you can get 2 in the larger one and 1 in the smaller.
Or you can get a dice box which fits in the larger reserve and fits 5 sets of dice.
What a coincidence! What a great! You guys
almost
are so
like it was designed that way.
So lucky with that coincidence.
Yeah, I know, right?
And that leather can be laser engraved with any of your own designs.
Right.
Just like the wood, we can do custom designs on any of the facing of the wood.
Nice. I really like this simple detail as well of like the slightly lipped inset here on the side.
Yes. That was very, very deliberate. Because we've seen other products where they would sort of slide.
Yeah,
with a subtle lip to lock it in.
Together, there's a very subtle lip. There's no give to like sided motions.
But that's the adventurous chest, which is one of our normal products as well. But that'll hold a mini on one side and a full set of standard size polyhedral dice.
Right.
In the other.
Yeah.
So
you can usually keep 2 sets of dice, 2 minis, mini
or 2 sets of dice, or
2 minis.
I think I did all my wild shape when I played really.
Right, yeah.
The whole thing.
Because that's one of my biggest banes as a DM. Like late, especially for later games when you've got some like high level adventurers, and you've got a druid in the party, you've got a wild shape sorcerer, you've got someone who's picked up a deck of many things, and you and you just have to go. All right, how much can I fit in my bag? Because I've now got to take all of the possible beasts that guy could wild shape into, all of the possible creatures that guy could polymorph somebody into, all of the things that could happen from a wild shape, all of the different things that if he happens to plant a bag of beans bean, then a mummy might emerge. So you take a mummy with me. A unicorn might appear from the wild shape, so I better take a unicorn.
Yeah. So the adventurer's chest comes from one of our home game traditions, where if you invite someone to play at a table, you'll buy them their first set of dice.
Right, yeah.
So you're welcome to playing D&D. Here's a set of dice. Yeah, let's just roll together and see what happens.
Yeah.
So that came out of wanting to give someone something a little bit more special for that tradition, and they'll put a mini in there as well. I've got where Aaron is obsessed with collecting dice, I'm obsessed with collecting minis. I've got that's a very large room, yeah, not as bad as Dag.
That's much more my thing. I've got enough dice, which is sacrilegious to say in TTRPG world. I've got like I don't know, I haven't even counted like 30 sets of dice, and I've bought maybe one of them. People keep just giving me dice, and I'm not complaining. I love dice, but I've got more dice than I need. I've got a dice now. I've got to the point where I've got like, and I actually keep them in my dice tray. The three sets that I actually use are in my dice tray, the Wootenforge dice tray that I've got. And then like I've got just a huge sack of dice that I carry around for like if anybody's forgotten their dice, I've got there you go. Or if I need to roll 10d6 or something, I can
need to find all your players.
Exactly, yeah.
I have nothing.
Whereas minis I can keep collecting until the cows come home because yes, I have 7 different tieflings, but do I have a female tiefling sorcerer with 2 different swords?
Yeah,
No.
exactly right.
So I need exactly the mini that I want for this.
There's always a new character, and you need to get the mini so you can run it.
Exactly, yeah. You gotta have the exact mini that you want, and then the problem becomes where do you keep them? Ideally, I have my own Roll studio where people can come and play, and I've just got display cases around where I'm actually playing, and then when I need a mini, I can go over and grab it.
Yeah, we're about to bring my miniature collection to the forge because it's starting to impact my marriage.
Find a place to show it off here instead.
Yeah.
It'd be very good for when people come to visit as well.
Oh, to play games.
You like to play. You play D&D here as well?
We've yet to run a game here. But it's on the list.
It's on the list.
Yeah, lines. But soon, I've made Aaron promise me that I'm the DM for the first game that gets played here.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Nice. Let's have a look at the dice trays.
Oh, okay. This is a dice keeper.
Dice keeper.
Do you want to show it off?
Let's show it off. So this is the same. This is the same design as the one that I've had, but minus the Dread GM logo on one side and the GM logo on the other side. It's got a nice, satisfying feel to it.
Always hoping there was dice in it.
Just, I could tell when looking at them, it definitely felt empty. But yeah, it's got this beautiful dual purpose kind of thing going on here where you can fit this way. You fit a coin or a mini or something on this side, and you can fit 3 rows of the polyhedral dice here, which is what I use it for. I end up using I've got 2 full sets of dice that I use, and then the middle column I use for my specialty dice. I've got a D3, a D1000. I've got a directional D8.
Oh wow!
It's got certain numbers on it. It's got all different cardinal directions. So if I need to randomize a direction, I'll roll that.
That's cool.
I've got a little emotion dice that's a D6, but it's got different faces on it.
Oh yeah, cool.
How do you feel about that?
We're about to find out.
That's every variable.
It's nice dice ASMR. Yeah, very nice. So tell me about the leather and how you got into that. You say you acquired a leather worker along the way, and you're like, look, we should be lining these things.
Yeah, one of our, I guess, a friend started with a friend and ended up also being a friend, but working here as well. Had a bit of a history, sort of doing leather work. I think his granddad was a leather worker and he learned from him. And so he's learned all these old school ways of turning leather into beautiful products. And he's recently joined us. And so now that's opened up a whole realm of possibility for us as far as the leather working is concerned.
Excellent.
So I think people can expect, you know, some cool things to be coming out in the future.
And I imagine everything's a learning process. When you start getting into something new like that, you'd be like, okay, where do we source leather from? And what is the differences of leather that we don't know anything about?
Yeah, there's a whole process from coming up with an idea to getting it to a viable product, manufactured locally as well.
Yeah, and I imagine in a similar way to the wood, being that it's an organic product, leather it's all unique. Every different part of leather you get, you're like, okay, how do we work with this particular type of thickness?
Yes, yeah, it's a whole new skill set that we're pleased to have as part of what we're doing now. So yeah, we're very excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, and you say you laser engrave whatever the customer needs into the.
Yeah, so the customer can either provide us with their designs or design they've had done, or even contact us and we can do something up for them as well. You know, we work with a lot of like artists as well who happily sort of draw something up for laser engraving. So that's only within the realms of possibility as well. Pretty much whatever you want, we can do it.
So what's the so let's talk about sort of the plans for Wootenforge and the future of Wootenforge. Obviously, the future's relatively uncertain for anybody's life, but
yeah, I really see us as just getting started at the moment. I think maybe everyone sees themselves that way.
Yeah,
just getting started.
Yeah, never stop seeing yourself that way.
Yeah.
Unlike Aaron, we're not divination wizards. Yeah.
But I think for us, sort of presence in Australia is pretty good. We'd like to expand that internationally. A lot of people I find don't even know exist at this point. So certainly looking into international markets and expanding our presence there.
Going to cons overseas, like Jen Toher.
Yeah, I'd love to do all that. That'd be great. All that sort of stuff to get our name out there and sort of show the world what Australia can do.
Yeah. And at the moment, you're already shipping internationally. People watching from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we've shipped to Stockholm and Ireland, America.
There you go. So if you're watching, you like what you've seen so far, do check out wootenforge.com and see if you like any of the stuff. What's your best sellers of your range so far?
Best seller would probably have to be. It kind of changes, but at the moment it's a Tasmanian Blackwood Adventurous chest.
Right.
I think there's something about that wood that people really like.
Right.
What's this wood here?
This one.
In the Adventurous chest.
This wood, but in this form.
Yeah. Wood is typically used.
It is a very nice wood. It's a really beautiful. I imagine it's all this kind of coloration.
Yeah, the contrast is what's really attractive.
Yeah.
In the Tasmanian Blackwood.
Tasmanian Blackwood, I believe, species Acacia melanoxylum is closely related to the koa tree, which is a very high-end wood that's used in like playing guitars and that sort of stuff. A lot of people don't realize how closely related Tasmanian Blackwood is to koa.
Right.
So I'd actually expect in the future for that wood to become very expensive because it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Absolutely stunning. Camera doesn't do it justice.
No, sure not. And I love that obviously you get the same grains that come round and you can kind of follow it onto the inside.
Yeah, that's what we really love about using the one piece of wood.
Yeah.
And just finding the design that's inside the wood.
Yeah, that was a beautiful part of the process for this dice box that I keep teasing. I'm going to draw like
That was beautiful.
The whole process, the whole process of it was brilliant to like watch as it's getting planed down and like seeing the different contrasts starting to emerge because I use the black hat sassafras, which has a huge contrast of colours. And then going like, oh, which side is getting, and then once you've got that, going like, okay, I'm only going to use this much of it though, so which parts of it should be used?
Yeah. Not to compare us to the Grey Masters, but the process is the same. Michelangelo, when he was the sculpture, his I'm going to butcher the quote, but forgive me in advance. He says the sculpture's already in the stone.
Yeah.
All you're doing is removing the little bits and getting it out of the way.
Getting it out of it. Yeah. Allowing the sculpture to reveal itself.
Yeah.
which is a beautiful way of looking at it, and you're basically doing the same with the wood. The wood, because it's all one piece, the dice tray as it was is already there.
Yeah.
Nature is the artist. All we're doing is showing it off.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful way of looking at it. So the bestsellers tend to be these adventurers chests.
Yeah, I think the this is the story giving someone something, and you can roll in that, and it's
Right.
works just fine for a portable way of playing Dungeons and Dragons. It folds open, so your dice are in one, you can roll in the other.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
It's very very portable, very low impact way to be an adventurer on the go.
It's a good gift idea too.
Yeah.
So if someone's new to the game or what have you, or even just as a gift for your GM for looking after you.
Or not.
or a bride for gift, so that he's not doing your
work.
What which of your products are you super proud of that you'd like to see people actually enjoying? Is there any that didn't sell as well as you'd expect, and you think that they?
I think there's two questions there. The first one is the one that we're most proud of, and I think the one we're most proud of is the Dice Keeper. That's gone through probably 7 or 8 iterations. I think I've got about 2 of those failed experiments. But that is in our opinion, the perfect tabletop accessory for going and playing a game.
There's a reason I genuinely use it in my because it keeps the 2 sets of dice that I'll need for the game, and it gives you a dice tray to roll.
Yeah, it's everything that you need. Yeah. Your minis in there, enough dice are in there that you can play quite happily.
Particularly if you need to move around between games or whatever. It's a great way to just take everything you need.
Great for conventions, great for going to Adventurers League and joining your lunch tables. So we're super proud of that. A lot of work went into getting that right, getting the bevel, the chamfer on the corners to make it a really nice hand feel. Yeah, that's probably the one we're the most proud of, I think.
And it sells alright, and people.
Yeah, it goes really well. The laser engraving on top. Yeah, there's so much real estate on the top. You get some really awesome designs. I think we've got a mind flare one floating around down the ether.
We don't call it that.
It's a tentacle face monster brain eater.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a legally distinct monster.
Legally distinct.
So I think they've got beautiful art. Some of the artists we work with are incredible. We're so lucky to have these people as scholars and say, hey, love to work with you. Great, we've got a stupid idea.
It sort of fits in with our goal of promoting locally and helping to bring up other creators as well as ourselves at the same time. Yeah. So working with local talent, content creators, with artists, with all people in the same sort of space that are trying to build their businesses and to succeed. We're all about that.
Wonderful, yeah. And the process of, you said there was lots of iterations of this one in particular. Do you is that a case of before you've even put it on the market? You've tried
beta tested
it. Do you ever get to a point where you've put something out and you go, this isn't actually doing as well as we thought, let's reassess why and maybe do some more iterations of it?
It's part of the process.
Yeah, definitely part of business is customers respond differently to different products. Yeah. But that feedback is really valuable because it helps us sort of shape what we put out there and how we do it.
Yeah, customers are really generous. You listen to the customer feedback of
absolutely
people saying this thing's a little too bulky or
finger
heavy.
We've gone through the length and the depths of those just based on feedback. Right. People that have bought and shared that. It's
super important to us.
It's a privilege to get that and then people who've gone
even ideas ideas for products. The dice box we made came from an idea from a customer. This person liked the idea of the dice keeper, but they didn't really care about their dice as much. They didn't have gemstone dice. Didn't need to be locked in place. They're okay and moved around. But they also wanted to fit more sets of dice in there. Right. And so that's how the dice box came to be. Also the concept of it, flipping it open and becoming 2 separate dice trays.
Yes.
You can share with a friend. Because everyone, Everyone knows that player that forgets to bring their stuff. You know.
Click. All right, here's your dice tray for today. Here's a set of dice. Fill your boots. And that's one of the things we love about playing in person is being able to share stuff and oh, you need a D6. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really like about the big dice spells like lightning bolt and fireball and things like this. Is like it gets everybody as in like if you've only got two sets of dice or three sets in front of you, but you need 8d6. You're like, all right, everybody give me a d6 everybody has to collaborate, and everybody is now invested.
Yeah.
Because in my experience, most people are like looking to see what their dice rolls. They're like, "Oh, I gave you the 6."
Yeah.
I got a 5.
We had an arena fight at Aaron's house, and my wife was playing a druid and she used conjure animals, and then all of a sudden there's 8 velociraptors at the table. So what we did, we had 4 players, so everyone got 2 velociraptors.
Yeah, I love that. I had a huge fight with a home game once where some NPC, like an NPC rival party, came to save the party, and they kind of knew them, and each of them was related to them in some way. Like it was one of their dads had come to save them, and he was friends with another guy who was friends with his dad, and so. And so because they were all kind of related, and there was now eight people that were on the good guys' side, when they got into a fight with like a bunch of gnolls, and I had like 20 people in the fight at least, 8 of which were good guys. So I was like, all right, each of the 4 of you players is taking one of the NPCs, the one that's related to. So you're playing you, and your dad. You're playing you and your dad's mate, and then they were playing 2 players, and I had to play all the gnolls. So it kind of
that's awesome.
Where the hell were we? We were talking about I can't even remember. We're probably onto a new topic anyway.
I think we were segueing on
Probably
sharing characters with them.
Yeah, sharing characters. So why don't we grab the dice box and anything else that we haven't shown off, so we can show. Sorry, the coin box and anything else we haven't shown off.
Yep.
And then we will show off the dice tray that you guys have put in the dice box. So the story of this beautiful dice box that I'm about to show off is, for anyone who doesn't know, I run an interactive game of D&D called Twitch Tales on my Twitch channel every weekend. It is interactive because there are no players in this game. It is just the chat. So I'm the DM, and the chat is hive mind controlling the actions of the single solitary main character of that campaign, Apis Hive. And in that campaign, it's been going 80 some episodes now. In that campaign, Apis has been given a box containing some divinatory dice, and they can roll them once a day to get a guaranteed yes/no answer to a question that they want, as a way of me moving things on as the DM when people need information that they can't work out how to get. So they've got this divinatory dice, and it was in a box that originally said Bobby on the top because that was the name of the guy who owned the dice before them. But recently they went to the Feywild where this dice box was created, and the Merry Gentleman, an archfey in that game, renamed the box Apis because it now belongs to Apis. The dice have asked your DM a question. That's absolutely right. So this dice box in the game we've had for a while, and I've been using a little wooden box that my brother got me from Costa Rica when he went there, and it had a bunch of like really hilariously bad wooden dice in it. Like these are barely even cubes. Awesome. And then the ones that they've got individual pips drilled in them, and the 6 it looks like this. it's just like just an absolute mess. It looks like it's been it's been hand carved, I think, on every plane. And he just saw them and loved them and gave me them. I have them on display now in my room. But I kept the box for this dice box, but it wasn't perfect because it says Costa Rica on the top, not Apis. So instead, when I was coming to Wootenforge and you said, hey, let's make something for you, I was like, having the actual box that Apis uses in that game of Twitch Tales that looks like fairy Feywood would be absolutely perfect. So here's the reveal. If you want to see the process of it a little bit at a time, you can head to my Instagram. And if you want to see it in a less truncated way, you can head to my YouTube page. You can head to my YouTube page and see the whole process later on YouTube. But I first chose the wood type, and it was Black Hat Sassafras, and I loved it because it has this direct contrast between the white and the dark, which he said was because of fungus in the wood, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so the fungus grows in the wood, and then when the wood dries out, obviously the fungus dies off as well, but it's left behind this beautiful, different contrasting black and white sort of thing. And you can see down the end there, you've got the lighting. There we go. You can see that there's this like dark cross held in place by these white corners. And immediately, as soon as I was even just choosing the wood, I had these stories going through my head of like,
Yeah.
oh, the Feywild is about Seelie and Unseelie courts, and so maybe there's like the Seelie tree and the Unseelie tree, and this Dryad Grove has kind of like blended the two woods together as it grows, and it's like it's formed this neutrality kind of wood that keeps the dice from getting too affected by lawful or chaos or good or evil or something, because you've got this four-way cross between like the different
like ley lines or something.
yeah, the what do they call them, the alignments. So I've got all these stories going through my head, and then of course to reveal the top later, let's talk about the inside instead. Ooh, beautiful! Oh, I love it. I love it. So you can keep a full set of polyhedral dice in there. I actually screwed in these magnets myself to try and have a part in the production of it.
You did a lot of it yourself.
Yeah, well, I helped. I helped. So we talked about the design of what to do, and we basically used the same size as one of the coin boxes, which I'll show you in a minute. But we then hollowed it out to the size of the adventurer's. Keep forgetting what you call it. Adventurer's chest.
Yeah.
Adventurer's chest. So
it's like a coin box, but pretty similar.
Yeah, very similar designs anyway. And then yeah, we watched the whole thing coming together. I did a little bit of the sanding myself, and then handed it over to a professional to actually finish it, so that I didn't screw it up. And then I asked, because it was a relatively quick turnaround on getting the design of the name Apis engraved on the top. I asked three of the community members who make art for me at various times to come up with different designs of Apis, and then I chose the one that I thought fitted best with the most sort of fairy fey wild. And Ajo, I went with your design for the name Apis. Ready for the reveal? Ta-da!
Wow.
Apis with a nice curly Feywild kind of writing, and then a bee, because Apis's companion animal is a giant bee called Mel.
Hell yeah!
So yeah, there's Apis's dice box, and when I get home, and it's a fantastic timing as well, because one thing I did in that campaign was they went to the Feywild to meet the Merry Gentleman and everything. And because the Feywild has this mind manipulating magic thing, where if you come back from the Feywild and you don't have Fey ancestry, you can forget your time there.
Oh wow!
And because it's a solo campaign, I had them roll to see if they would remember their time there when they arrived there, as soon as they stepped into the portal to go to the Feywild.
Do you know the results of those rolls yet?
So I rolled it. I got a fail. So I jumped instead to them coming back to the material plane and skipped over a big time skip of them in the Feywild.
Wow.
And just went, you arrived back in the material plane, you don't remember your time in the Feywild. And everybody in the chat lost their mind, like, what did we do? Because there was so many paranoid people in the chat being like, let's not make any deals with any Fey while we're there. Make sure to never give your real name to the Fey, and never accept any food, and never do this and this and this. And then they jumped back to the Fey. They forgot all their time. So they went back to the material plane, eventually carried on the story from there, piecing together a little bit at a time as to what's happened. One of the things is the dice box had changed names to now say their name, and they were like, what does that mean? Why does the dice box say our name on it now? And then eventually they went to some myconids who did some mind manipulation magic, and were like, oh, we can unlock these secrets for you with some shrooms. So they went on this shroom trip, and then at that point I jumped back to like a D level of them. We jumped back in time and we acted out what happened in Feywild and had the next few sessions in the Feywild. And then in the very last session that we've played to date was them finishing up everything they were doing in the Feywild and stepping through the portal back to the material plane. So we're now jumping back to present day, now that they know why they've got the dice box.
Yeah.
So it's coincidentally an absolutely perfect time for it. Because next time we actually play Twitch Tales, which is next weekend, they will have the actual dice box in hand, full of the bone dice.
That's really cool.
So very excited, very pleased with that. Thank you very much for it. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. And not only have I now got a tea tree dice keeper, but I have a Black Heart Sassafras unique custom dice box as well.
Yeah, we don't actually sell those on the website.
No, I think so.
If people are
Very
interested in
special.
that, I'd be keen to hear about it.
Yeah, it's nice feedback.
So as I show off these last couple of items, don't forget, guys, that this is, although I do ignore you for the most part, this is a live stream, so you can ask your questions as well. If you're finding that I'm ignoring you, which is the case when I've got such interesting guests, just don't forget that you can do the channel point redemption of the D&D quest. Ask me a D&D question. It only costs 50 channel points, so by now in the stream you've accrued plenty enough of those. You can ask your questions. I will open them up at the end, and we will answer the chat questions.
Yeah, awesome.
This is an example of something else that you sell on your site, which is the coin box. I'll just double check my coin for you. You don't want to show off. This is a coin box. It's a similar size to the dice box that was made for me.
That's Jarrah.
This is Jarrah wood, which is the concrete durable. Feels like it's got a decent weight to it as well, doesn't it?
You could use that as an improvised weapon.
Bludgeon somebody to
You wouldn't even need the feet.
Here's the coin box and showed off with my roller hat coin. It fits beautifully inside there, really nice and snug. It's like I've been told recently that I may have ADHD, and I've also for a while wondered if I'm on the OCD spectrum as well, because just things like this are just super, just viscerally satisfying when something fits so snugly and so nicely. And then it fits nicely in there. You've got your dice your coin when you want to carry it, and then when you want to display it.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Goes in there, and it can stand up on your shelf.
Yeah, like a little trophy.
A little trophy. Yeah, I love it. You could have it if the coin was for like I can imagine the DM having it just like displayed on their DM screen, and the coin of doom or the coin of fate or something is like
a medal or something.
If the DM only ever flips it when there's a 50 like death saves or something.
Yeah.
Or like there's something like that. Death saves would be good because death saves are meant to be 50-50.
That's a good idea.
And having the death save coin and be like, well, let's see if you survive. Putting it in the box and being like, oh, nah, dead. It's a skull on one side, an angel on the other, or something. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah. I've seen people use it as like almost like a divine intervention type thing as well.
Right, yeah.
You can use it once to call a god or something to come and help you through the game.
Yes or no.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that these are turnable as well. Like obviously once they've been played down, there's going to be a right and a wrong way, but for the most part, they're so well designed and manufactured that they kind of work both ways.
Yeah.
I also really like that when the grains just happen to line up, very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really satisfying when you get that right.
Beautiful.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, very much so. I'm sure I will. And then this one is
that's a dice box.
A dice box. So how do you keep a track of all of them? So you've got a dice keeper, a dice box, a dice tray.
Yep, adventurer's chest.
An adventurer's chest.
Pens.
What is the one?
The adventurer's bundle.
This is the adventurer's bundle.
You can buy it with
dice tray.
So this is the dice tray.
Yep.
This is the dice adventurer's chest, which you buy as an adventurer's bundle.
Yep.
You got your dice box.
Yep.
And then the one that's the larger version of this,
keeper.
That's the dice keeper. Right.
The dice box should also go in.
Is this the same one as this one?
Yeah, that one's been superseded by that one.
Right, so this is an earlier version of this.
So that box will fit into the tray.
Oh, look at that. What a goddamn coincidence. Look at that.
It's almost like it was made for it.
I know, crazy. It's so lucky.
So you could have like two different minis and your dice and the tray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Metroplex comes out.
Yeah, you buy a dice box and the adventurer's bundle, and then
you've got two trays for your friends as well.
You can take those out. This would actually be a really good bundle for the DMs to grab.
Yeah.
Because that is super compact, and you can have that in your bag and everything. And then you get it out. You keep a hold of your dice tray on your side of the DM screen, and then you split this one open and give it to two of the players or whatever. And then you split this one open, and you've got your minis in there. Yeah. Very cool.
Everything you need.
Everything you need.
It's quite enjoyably fidgety as well.
How about you've got your fidget players who can have a little play around with it. How about dice towers? Branched out into dice towers yet?
We haven't done dice towers yet. I'd be keen to know if that's something people are interested in.
I certainly see a lot of dice towers and dice tower designs and things on Instagram and the rest of it. So I imagine that there's a market for it. It seems the dice.
I think we have to work out how it fits in with our ecosystem and whether it can sort of fit in with the products.
Whether it's like one of those foldable ones, kind of like your coin tray, like having slots so that it's in one, and then you can slot it into something once it stands. And
the engineering process around that is super interesting to kind of unpack.
Yeah, I've seen a whole bunch of really fascinating designs. Ones that are definitely 3-dimensional and stay that way, like a skull or something, books or something that you can't really take apart. And then other ones that are completely compactable to look like a couple of sheets of paper almost, and then you've the way that you fold it and slot it together can be really intricate.
Do you see many people using dice towers in like in-person games when you play?
Because of the lack of portability of many dice towers, I find that most people know.
What about chat?
The times that I see dice towers being used is if I'm ever doing a GM fire at somebody's house or at a place where they can store the dice tower, like the community centre where they've got like lockers and things.
It's more of a permanent fixture.
More of a permanent things, yeah. I also see people using them as more of the GM side of things, like GM screens that come with the dice towers as a part of it, and then you can kind of switch which side of the GM screen it rolls on. So if you want to roll out in the open for a death save or something, or if you want to privatize it, you can flick a little thing and then the dice tower comes down your side. So I've seen those sorts of things. How about you guys in the chat? Do you use dice towers? Maybe we get a poll going. Do you use a dice tower when you're playing D&D?
If enough people want one, we'll build one.
Yeah, because if there's demand for it, there's dice towers. Dice towers. The thing about dice towers is it's always fun to use them if somebody at the table's got one.
Yeah.
I see the what is it called? Dimension 20, the series that Brendan Lee Mulligan's the GM for. He uses dice towers for like special dangerous rolls or something. Like if it's like it's make it or break it time kind of thing. You've got to succeed at this or not. They'll put the dice tower out and it adds to that drama. The cameras can get right on the tray and everything. Yeah, very good. Dread says Dread is talking in third person. Dread says Dread rolls a lot of dice and uses a dice tower. That's a very good point. I do see Dread using a dice tower.
What about check that out as well?
What about what about GM screens?
We already make GM screens.
You do?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we make them out of Australian hardwood,
right?
And they sort of have a magnetic hinge design, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're also customizable, so you can get them engraved with whatever you like, really.
That's really good, isn't it? It's a satisfying weight to that pen. You got any GM screens here? I don't think I saw them when I was here last.
I don't think we do. Yeah, I think I've got a couple at my place.
Yeah, I think I've got a couple of them as well.
Yeah. Cool, this is
probably should have brought them along.
Yeah.
This will be a good fidget as well. It's got satisfying sort of resistance as you turn.
Yeah, so we got those hand turned by an Australian wood turner,
right?
Who makes hardwood pens, and the wood selection that he used matched our library really well.
Right. Yeah.
So the quality of the pen and even the fittings of the pen itself are just really satisfying. I've got a couple of friends who are real stationery nerds,
right?
And I bought them a pen, and went down really well. They've gone and ordered different color inks to get the cartridges to go inside.
Right.
So they'll
because they fit a standard. I think it's like cross style.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Ink refill, so you can replace them with whatever you want.
Yeah, and we were talking about leatherwork before. Our leatherworker made a little leather pouch for it, which was that's all hand punched.
So hand stitched. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I've always found it fascinating that like the amount of excitement there are for pens on markets, like people who can really admire great fountain pens and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've always been so bad at keeping pens that I'm like, I could never imagine spending any amount of money on a pen because like Bics and Biros, I can replace them when I lose them invariably. I don't think I very rarely use a pen to the point where it's run out. I use it until it's lost.
Yeah. My wife's got the Shio version of that, and I've stolen it. There was an ongoing joke when we first launched them that I wasn't allowed to have one.
Right. Yeah.
As memes sort of arrive. so I've swiped my own.
Yeah.
So I still don't have one. I'm just permanently
Swiped,
borrowing.
permanently borrowing. Yeah. Yeah, at the same point of not running out of pens, I also don't really buy them. You just accrue them from other people who've lost them. Especially when I was back at drama school or university or whatever, you just find pens that around their study room, and you'd be like, well, that'll replace the one I lost.
Yeah.
Somebody else will pick mine up.
You don't want to lose those though.
No,
It's super nice.
gosh, no. Yeah, that's why I'd be like, hey, that's a gift for somebody else. That's how
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is beautiful, and then the next week I'd be like, where did my pen go?
Yeah, that's
Left it at somebody's
That's
house.
such a treasure to write with.
Yeah, I
Because of the
mentioned.
weight.
Yeah, the weight was the first thing I noticed. It was like, this is a really beautiful, nice pen. And then when I started opening it, I was like, oh, it's a silent fidget toy. Like it's got a really nice kind of resistance as you were.
Even the pocket clip
Right. Yeah.
is really rigid as well. You get your plastic things, you fiddle with the pocket clip and it pop.
Break. Right.
Stories all this time.
Yeah.
But good luck with that one. It's really strong.
There was something else I was going to ask about though. Let's see if I can get it back in my head. Nope. I think it was just rounding out that talk of future plans for Wootenforge. Have you got any particular products that you really want to start making, or different designs of things that you're thinking about, and the design process?
So many things.
Yeah.
So many top secret things.
Top secrets.
Yeah.
Any exclusive
Oh.
exclusive what do you call it, first looks or teasers or sneak peeks or anything you
Yeah.
can tell us about?
Well, when anything comes available, I'll definitely hit you up.
Give me a sneak peek exclusive.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. I think we're going to be really pushing the boundaries on what people have seen in this space.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep an eye out.
The lab is real.
Yeah.
It really is. When you've got so many differently abled and differently talented people in the same spot, you'll either get an explosion or you'll get something magical happen. And we're not quite sure which one's going to come first.
Maybe both.
Probably both.
What is the process of when something happens? Like what's the first thing that you do when you've got this idea? Is it usually pen and paper for you, or do you go straight to the computer?
Usually it starts with just a bunch of us sitting around talking.
Yeah.
And I'll come up with an idea of, do you guys think we can do this? There'll be a back and forth discussion. Yeah, let's do this.
We're playing a game and we're trying to solve a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you know what really annoys me? And then
and then something shoots out from that.
Oh, you can do this.
It just starts with one simple idea and it can turn into a full blown
project. Not even an idea.
Time and time.
Sometimes something will pop up and I'm like, oh, I hate that. The vultures swarm.
And I wish it was blah blah blah. And suddenly you've got that idea of, well, that's the market for it then. If I'm thinking that, other people will be as well.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce, I think.
Yeah, I think we encourage that kind of feedback from customers or even people that have heard about us, partners. Let us know if there's something that you would like to see that we haven't done or hasn't done. Yeah, the chances are we can make it.
That's amazing.
The possibility doesn't really exist.
With larger things as well, like gaming tables and stuff. You've made those in the past. You've made gaming tables.
Not yet. I'd love to really get into the whole gaming table thing.
The process is ultimately the same. Like
furniture design is such a unique skill set.
Because it's got to hold a lot more than just the idea.
Yeah, exactly right. The scale is bigger. The structural integrity to consider, portability. It's a very unique. Unique talent. We're fortunate to have someone who we can really lean on for that level of expertise. The design elements are different. The fittings and fixtures and the architecture of the piece is it's a very different world.
Would you like us to make you a gaming table, Rob?
No,
you've got one already.
The VLDL studio is just being made. Finally, they were the largest Kickstarter in New Zealand history. We raised, I think, $2.5 million for a VLDL studio because they were sick of hiring out spaces for all the different skits and things, and they got to a point where they were like, we need to start producing ourselves. And so they've been working on the studio. They're going to have the largest permanent green screen in Auckland. Which they're going to be able to hire out to production companies that come to New Zealand, obviously.
Brilliant weather.
And exactly, and they'll start being able to earn back some of their own money, because even though it was the largest Kickstarter in US history, they've put in so much of their own money on top of that, because it's the rent on a huge or the mortgage on a huge warehouse sort of studio like that is
If you'd like a table, let us know.
Yeah, well, they're working on all sorts of things. One of the sets, the permanent sets, is going to be a tavern, like a permanent tavern. We're having a D&D table made for us, and I've got my own like GM screen that they've asked me all sorts of what sort of size depth do you want for your table on the inside, and then how about on the sides, and what sort of screen size, and all these different dimensions. And I had to think about what is my perfect GM screen size behind the screen. It's fantastic, and it's on the way, and boy, it's a big process.
Excited to see.
Yeah, for sure. So there was one thing else. Pricing. So one of the things I find is an issue for me is that people will often be like, "Do you GM for hire?" And I'll be like, "Sure." And they'll be like, "What's your price?" And I'll be like, "What am I worth? I don't. How do I decide on what I'm worth?" How have you tackled that when you're making things for the market? Do you just look at like what's already out there and what kind of pricing, or do you look at like how much it?
There's sort of multiple ways you can approach pricing, I guess. From, as you said, market research to even just testing the waters and see what works and what doesn't. At the end of the day,
you price something and suddenly it's like, whoop, sold out. You're like, that was maybe we undervalued it a little.
It can be a bit tricky because if your pricing is too high, people don't buy it. If it's too low, they might not buy it either.
They might not buy it because it's like that's cheap.
Finding that sweet spot. Obviously, looking at how the sausage is made, wood's not free. So
there's labour.
There is all of that,
or all these tools that you've had to get the mortgage or a place like this.
Something the lights keep on. But there is a certain quality of the stuff that we're producing, and for rare earth magnets and vegetable tan leather and Australian hardwood, and the quality of the engineering that goes into building this stuff, they really do have an heirloom quality to them. So there is a certain investment's the wrong word, but there is
we build the product to last.
It's
not something you're going to throw away after a week.
Not like planned obsolescence of a lot of things on the market where it's like, well, if we built it to last, they're not going to buy another.
We want to see people with stuff in 10 years that's got chips
and chips and all sorts of. It's like, this black stain in the corners from where so-and-so spilled coffee on it when I got it 20, and they went, what?
My DM threw one of his steel dice at me. I protected myself. And that's a fun story element. And we want to see the life of this and the stories of this would really continue. And that's what's romantic to us about it. And people really do gravitate towards having something that's going to go on all of these adventures with them. And
we want to see these products passed down, like maybe to their children or grandchildren.
Yeah, for sure. Or to because D&D is one of these where people will get into it for a bit and be like, life's getting in the way, and so you see like what do they call them on Trade Me and eBay and stuff, like these lots where it's like just everything in a lot. I'm not going to list all of the minis, but you get a bunch of minis if you buy this thing, because people get out of the hobby and then get back into it later. So people passing it on to their players and being like, hey, I'm going to sell all this stuff, but I want you.
This is the special. And that's really what we think gravitate people towards the stuff that we're making. Is there is that it's not disposable, it's not it's going to fall apart or anything. We really want it to have a life of its own. And people seem to like it, so we'll keep doing it.
It's basically just storage at the end of the day, so it kind of doesn't have to be for dice or gaming either. Like, just imagine people getting out of falling out of the hobby or whatever, and being like, I'm going to keep my paints in here, like my paintbrushes in here. Or I'm going to keep coins, like if they've got a coin collection or something.
If I saw a dice keeper that's been flecked with paint because someone paints their minis in it, and it's a nice thing, I would love to see that. That would be such a joy. To see this reclaimed piece of timber that's been pulled out of some farmhouse or whatever, then shaped into this, and it's gone on these adventures, and then it's got dings, and it's got this real battle scars of it, and I really do. There is that sentimentality of, oh, this thing's gone on lots and lots of journeys with me.
We put a lot of passion into our products and a lot of hard work.
It shows.
We want to see
It shows how much from the product
appreciated.
when we talk about it as well. Like it really shows how you're passionate about the product itself and not just about like this is just a business. So if you do have Wootenforge products that are have been well loved for a while,
send photos to us.
Yeah, post your photos in my Discord, post your photos on Instagram. Make sure to tag us in it so that we see it.
Yeah.
See them and stuff.
We'd love to see the battle scars.
Yeah. Make sure to get your questions in. I'll start opening up to audience questions, as it were, then chat questions. So an hour ago, Ajo asked. Hopefully, Ajo's still in the chat. Probably will be. Ajo asked, "Have you ever used Huon? I understand there are a lot of restrictions on it, as well as being soft, but it's like wood made of silk and gold."
I haven't used. They're talking about Huon pine from Tasmania.
Right.
We haven't used it yet.
Why are there a lot of restrictions on it? Is it rarer wood? Is it like
possibly
endangered or something?
Possibly some export restrictions or logging restrictions or something like that. So again, we're probably going to seek something that's been reclaimed.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that out there. But yeah, pine is technically a softwood, so it's quite nice to work with, but you have to approach it differently than you would hardwood. In terms of what we're discussing, the different settings.
Because you were also mentioning when I was here last that you have to worry about the temperature it burns at as well for when you're spinning the bits and things when you're drilling it.
Yeah, that's right. So we'd have to take that into consideration. Haven't worked with Huon pine yet, but
what is the technical difference between soft and hardwood? Is it like a spectrum where there is just like this grey area of like this is kind of both?
It's
there's no real difference. It just comes down to how it's classified. Right. I believe it's based upon
someone somewhere kind of made an arbitrary line.
Yeah,
when this is softwood.
Yeah, sort of how long it takes the tree to grow and that sort of thing.
Right, gotcha.
I believe is really the only difference. There's not any real difference between its density. There are hardwoods that are really soft, softwoods that are really hard. So it's a bit confusing.
This is why eventually, because I went back to university recently a few years ago when I decided acting wasn't for me before I discovered D&D. And I was like, I'm going to do something academic. And I tried out all of the different sciences at first because I wasn't really sure what to do. And very quickly, biology was like, I really love biology and zoology, but I can't study it because it frustrates the hell out of me. that life is an obligation to fall into neat boxes.
Oh yeah.
But I need things to be in neat boxes for me to understand it because I was like, you get it in biology all the time where it's like, oh, there are no X that ever Y, except for this example over here.
Where it gets really confusing is when you look at names, like particularly like informal names, like Tasmanian oak.
It's not oak at all, yeah.
But it has some similar properties.
They do that a lot because the Tasmanian tiger was because it was striped, but it wasn't anywhere close to the marsupial for Christ's sake. Yeah, you get that a lot in biology, and then I was like, I can't deal with that. So I stuck with physics and maths, where it's like there's a right and wrong, there's a box that it falls into.
Physics makes the sense, right? What's that? Oh, it's a black hole. What's the It's a giant hole, and it's black.
It's a giant hole, because it's black. Yeah. If you want to very soft, it's like silk and gold. In what respects is it silk? Like the color, you mean? Yeah. Wow, that's cool. But you hope to work with it one day if you can get your hands on some of it.
Yeah, the opportunity cost is there.
We have a wood library on our website that every time we work with a new wood, we add to that and sort of do a little bit of a write-up about
how it was,
how it's used.
So that makes sense because then next time it comes back in, you can be like, how was it last time we worked with this?
That's public on our website. Go to wootenforge.com and have a look at the wood library.
Oh, nice.
We love to share the experience that we've had.
Yeah.
And we find it really interesting. But we're also massive nerds. So
what is the rarest wood you've ever worked with?
Probably maple, maybe?
No, probably Macassar ebony would be up there. It's a very, very rare. Well, it's rare in the sense that it's hard to get in Australia. It's very dense and very very expensive as well. So
Right.
you kind of don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Be very careful with it.
Yeah, that must be tough because, as we say, you've got to kind of trial and error to see what settings work. But you've got a piece that's like you can't afford to mess with this too much.
Some high pressure situations that occur sometimes.
Yeah.
Lots of screen
Set a thing
each
going and just like the other day, just hover over the stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweating.
A lot of the times, those sorts of woods are used as veneers, so they cut up into thin pieces. So then you can sort of laminate that on top of another piece of wood. So you still get that effect, but it's a more cost-effective and sustainable way
That makes sense.
to
Yeah.
enjoy that wood.
Just make something that you know you're going to be able to actually make it and it's durable.
Yeah.
And then veneer it with something that looks different.
Yeah, I think we've actually got a photo of a Mikasa ebony and red oak dice keeper on our Instagram,
Excellent.
which we made as a present for one of the guys here.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's
That's one of my favorites.
And your socials, your Instagram's just Wootenforge, isn't it? Wootenforge
right.
and all the things.
Everywhere, yeah.
Any socials that you're not on yet? Sorry, you getting on? You're on TikTok?
Yeah, we're on TikTok.
Yeah, and TikTok
Twitter,
and Twitter,
Instagram,
all places.
Facebook.
So Wootenforge on all the different things. Kelso asked an hour ago, how long do you have to cure wood before you start to work on it? Does it depend on the wood? I imagine so.
It does, and it depends on the moisture content of the wood.
Right. And the humidity of the air that you're in.
Yeah. So generally you want the wood when it's green, when it's a tree, you just cut it. It contains a lot of moisture. The purpose of a tree is really to absorb moisture to live. So you really need to get that moisture level down as dry enough to work with tools.
Yeah.
If there's too much moisture in it, working with it is very difficult and can be dangerous as well.
Yeah, right.
So we have
concaptions sort of spin the whole thing.
Yeah, all sorts of things like that. So we have moisture meters and things that we have to check that it is the right moisture content for us to.
And is it usually dried out and everything before it comes to you, or do you have to do a lot of that yourself?
Sometimes, yes.
Because it's already been worked for something.
Yeah, but it's not being reworked for small little heirloom pieces. It's been a bench out of someone's backyard or something. It's been rained on for 40 years.
Right, gotcha.
So there is that. Every piece is unique.
Yeah.
So the reclaimed stuff is the real trick.
How often do you get a piece and you just like, we can't work with this? There's nothing.
Well, it's more a case of just leaving it to dry.
Right. So any piece you get, you're going to be like, we'll still get something out of it.
Yeah. It may take a little while.
Yeah.
Usually when they cut trees down and they mill it into pieces.
Yeah.
They either put it in a kiln or they let it air dry. Air drying can take years.
Yeah.
Kiln can usually take a matter of months to dry.
Wow.
Yeah,
but
often when we get a piece of wood in, we will let it sit in the workshop for a while just to let it acclimate to the
particular
humidity.
Humidity and everything.
It'll figure the workshop out.
Because I imagine pretty happy with this. Imagine in Perth it's not too humid too often. It's been relatively rainy while I've been here.
At the moment, but
there's been storms.
Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty stable.
Yeah.
And so we usually leave it in there to acclimate to our moisture content here in the workshop.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you can risk the wood sort of warping and bowing significantly, or even cracking, because wood continues to absorb moisture throughout its life, even as a product. Yeah. It will eventually acclimate to the.
Yeah, you get really old doors that haven't been finished properly that won't even go into the door jam anymore because it's just absorbed the water.
Yeah, that's right. So leaving it to sort of season and acclimate is pretty key for stability. Yeah. But also, you have to work with wood movement. It's something that is going to happen regardless of the wood and how it's finished. So either you can try and force it not to, which can result in problems like cracking and hitting yourself down, or you can just accept that it's going to happen and work around it.
Right, you build those tolerances into like the fittings where when you snap it together, it doesn't move. Like you build tolerances into that.
And so you can work out like they call tangential wood movement. There are statistics available online where you can see how much a certain species grows and shrinks. And you can factor that variable into the design of your product as well.
Does it matter for sort of like the longer products like your adventure chest? Does it matter whether you're going sort of with the grain or against the grain in that respect? As to how much it absorbs and stuff?
Yeah, and in terms of how it moves as well.
Right.
So something like an adventurous chest will sort of tend to bow or cup sort of along lengthways.
Right.
And so you want to factor that into the design.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's so much to think about.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because it's not really, um, it's not really like precise. It's something. It's random and it's
It's the
something
art of it.
that you need to account for because every piece is different and has its own personality, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wood doesn't really care that you're making it into something.
No.
It's gonna do its own
It'll
thing
do this
anyway.
thing. Is
All
there
right,
any
man. Look at us like.
is there any particular wood that you haven't worked with that you want to at some point?
Hmm.
Got a pretty good selection.
Probably cowrie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Kauri's beautiful wood. Kauri's a New Zealand wood. My parents had a kauri table that was swamp kauri. It was like 40,000 years old or something, and pulled out of the swamp and turned into this beautiful table where they've kept the wriggly design of the outside, but you get to see this beautiful finish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cowrie
that'd be
pretty good.
It's amazing how that wood has been preserved for all this time,
Yeah,
and now it's still available, and you can make things out of it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's beautiful stuff. Kelso asks, stain over paint or paint over stain for outdoor wood decor, cedar golf tee markers, or is varnish better? Let's talk about. We didn't really talk about finishes in much detail at all. Like, what's your
Yeah, I
opinion?
mean, we tend not to
Finishes?
use stains because we prefer to sort of showcase the
Keep the
natural
natural
color of the
yeah,
wood.
wood. Yeah,
But generally, if you're using something for outdoor purposes, you'd want a really tough finish, so something like a polyurethane or a varnish or
right.
something like
Yeah.
that. Really protect against the elements.
Mhm.
So you put the stain if you want to color it different
Yeah.
color, and then you put a layer of varnish
Varnish or polyurethane.
yeah on top of that. Would be my advice.
And what about the finishes for your products? What do
Yeah,
you?
so for our products, we use a natural hard wax
Mhm.
oil type finish. It's non-toxic, and I think it gives it a really nice feel on the hands. You can
Yeah,
actually feel the grain.
Yeah, you can
yeah,
hit it
because
too.
unlike the stuff you're going to be walking on a deck outside, you're not really going to be focused on the main important thing being
Yeah.
the feel of it.
Different use case.
You're going to be standing
Whereas-
on your dice keeper, or at least you shouldn't.
Well, Jared can pull you away with that.
That's not its intended use.
Yeah. Whereas if you're
It's
going
not
to
in
be
the terms and conditions.
if you're going to be picking it up and handling it, you're going to be passing it around. You're going to be opening it.
So you want to touch it and you want to be able to
Yeah,
still feel
yeah.
that it's wood and not like a coat of plastic over it.
And the smell of it as well is
Yeah.
super important as well. Like one of the first things you do, you get any wood. Oh, that smell! I love the smell of the tea tree dice keeper.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like plastic, and it doesn't smell like chemicals. It feels natural.
So you said it was wax oil.
Yeah, it's a wax oil blend.
Right.
And it's actually very easy to repair as well. If you have scratches,
Right.
it wears away over
Getting
time.
into it.
Probably something we'll do in the future is release like repair kits.
Yeah.
So if anyone has a ding or a scratch and they want to repair that,
Yeah.
they'll be able to buy that from
Yes.
the website as well.
And what's the process of finishing it once you've got it all to the final thing? How many coats do you do? How long does it take to
Layers and layers. Until it's done.
Yeah.
It's such a sponge and it'll just soak
keep
away
going?
the wax.
And it's an experience thing again to know when it's done. Like how many is
The wood will tell you.
It's like, that's enough.
Yeah, I'm done now. Don't worry about it.
I'm not absorbing anymore. I'm done.
Yeah, it depends on the look and feel you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to feel rough or you want it to feel smooth or you want it shiny or you prefer it matte.
Right, gotcha.
It really depends on the look you want.
Extras for it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Creative Garden asks, what do you do with all the sawdust? I was actually going to ask that myself and forgot. Is it recyclable? Does it go to a landfill? Can it be reclaimed in some way?
Yeah, so at the moment, nothing.
But just keep it.
We just keep
store
it
it up.
because we're looking at other
Right,
options as
that's
well
cool.
for how we deal with that.
Yeah.
Even like reconstituting sawdust back into usable product,
Hiking.
or like people with like horses and things use it as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
People use it in their gardens.
Yeah.
Provide sort of good
nutrition
for that.
So
So yeah,
there's
we've got
all
so much.
sorts of options.
Yeah.
Everyone wants any sort
Everybody
of
comes to you and they're like, here, here's a
Let us know.
takeaway, here's a keepsake.
Yeah.
Got a
Bags the size of Rob. just
They
full of it.
I really do. I took some B-roll footage of when the downdraft table was on. He was sanding, and it's like spinning around. It's really cool looking, but it's just huge bag sawdust.
So much.
Which is awesome.
It gets everywhere.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
It's incredibly flammable as well because it's aerosolized already.
Yeah.
and real bad to breathe in too, because it must be some of the health and safety stuff to be aware of.
There is a lot, and downdraft table is part of it as well. Just making sure that dust is controlled from the source. Things like you can drop PPE, making sure dust control is in place. There's a lot of health and safety concerns in a wood shop that need to be addressed.
Take that pretty seriously.
I imagine you have to.
One of the things that's really critical, we're working with our friends. Like we're working with people that we really love and care about, keeping them protected with all of this. There's essentially dangerous transformers out there. The Decepticons don't care that you're other than me. So we really do want to keep our loved ones.
Yeah, it's something we definitely drill into our people, even from the point of view of like mental health as well. If you're not in the right frame of mind a particular day, or you've had a bad day or something, sometimes it's better just to walk away and to
sit down
to
and
chill out
talk instead
of using machinery or do something sort of a bit more relaxing.
Awesome.
It's very, very important to us.
That's good.
Care about the people who are making the things that you care about. That's the
I mean, my parents always said the adage of if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of the business. So like you've got to take care of from an internal source.
We're very fortunate that we get to work and play with people that are very special to us. So it does add that extra layer of responsibility and care, duty of care, over the top of what is essentially running a business. But there's an extra extra level of.
They're all superstars, and we couldn't do this without them.
For sure. And everything that we have is. Been
They're not watching.
No, we don't care. They're our friends, and we want them first. But we are very, very privileged to be able to work with absolute rock stars. You met Jeff the other day.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Legend,
real friendly guy, really friendly and really helpful in guiding me through the process without feeling patronising as well, which was really important.
Oh, he can be patronising. Have him at a table. But we've played D&D with almost everyone here, I think. I have played with D&D. It's the induction.
We're all we're all here because we love terms like that first and foremost. And that's just part of that.
I love that. Rafe asks, is there anything you can't or haven't yet made that you'd absolutely love to create? A dream project. What's your dream project you'd love to work on?
Oh, every one of these projects is my dream.
Such a lawyer answer.
True though.
I want a cabinet. I would love an online.
Yeah.
Nice. What, for minis?
Yeah.
Well, now you've said it.
Thanks,
now I want
it. When you bring your minis in to
now I do. Thank you.
I
I love antiques, and I love antique furniture and that kind of thing. You go to any antique store in Western Australia, the only wood you're ever going to see there is Jarrah, because it lasts forever and it's made out of rebar or whatever. So I would love to have a brand new antique, if that makes sense, something with old school, high quality craftsmanship that is made of brand new antique.
I like that. It's it sounds like an oxymoron or just juxtaposition, but all antiques had to have been brand new at some point. Everything that is an antique now was brand new, and there has to be things that are being made now that will become antiques because of the quality and the durability.
How long my sea rock and the cast iron finishes and fittings. I love brand new cast iron in this brand new, and that would be the dream project for me.
I'd really love to know what the chat would like us to make.
Chat, get your suggestions in and things you'd actually like to make. I also missed the poll answer when I finally finished. One of my mods will tell me what was the results of the poll for the dice towers and whether they use them. Batnerd asks, have the Wootenforge boys ever heard of polymagnets? If not, would recommend a quick Google. If they have, would they consider using them? I think those are from memory, polymagnets, I think, are the ones that claim to be I'm thinking of monopoles, which are theoretical. I'm not sure. I don't know what polymagnets are. I was thinking the wrong thing.
Not something that's come up on our radar yet, I think.
Oh, have a look.
We'll check it out.
Polymagnet.
Cheers for the heads up.
Frank Fish says, do you often work with cherry wood? And if so, how often have you had to explain that cherry darkens quickly over time?
I have worked with cherry wood, actually. One of the first couple of products we've made was with cherry.
Yeah.
Different types of cherry
as
too.
in, like, after it's made, you'll hand it up and it'll go.
It turns like a golden brown color,
Oh,
which is really nice.
Is it like an oxidization thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Cherry is kind of difficult to work with as well because it burns quite easily on the table saw.
Right.
And it smells beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy on the tools like chisels and stuff like that.
So is it a case of you would adjust for that by getting a little larger than you need and then sanding back without table saw?
Yeah, you could either do that or you just might have to adjust your process a little bit,
Right.
go a little bit faster.
Right.
In the cut and that sort of thing.
Cool.
But there's different types of cherry, as you know, confusing as wood names are.
Yeah.
We've worked with American sweet cherry and European cherry.
It sounds like a pie.
It definitely does. It definitely made me salivate a little bit. Apparently, the poll ended at 50% people voting for if you make it, they will come.
Copy that. Watch your space.
It just says, I love the flip castles. I don't know what those are, but apparently that's something that I like. Anybody else? Dice towers, dice, and tokens for inspiration. Those are Myth's favorite things. Cinder asks, does Wootenforge make drink coasters? Those would be
Actually, yes.
In the merch store?
No.
Oh, coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, jump again.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to coasters.
It's not something we put on the website, just because it was kind of like a bit of a prototype, and we sold them at conventions and things like that. But if people are interested, we'll put it up there. Show off.
Nice.
So they're pretty thick. They're chunky boys, but there's a reason for that, which I'm about to reveal in a second. But if you can see, is that coming through on the camera?
It's coming through.
Yeah, so they've got like laser engaged art on top. Yeah, go get them. And I'll put one on the other one. So this is the Ocular Tyrant. And Rod's got the dragon there. But the reason they're so thick is because they've got a bottle opener and a magnet, so you can stick them to the side of your fridge.
Yeah. It's fridge magnet, bottle opener, and coaster all in one.
That's brilliant.
It's
Very detailed laser engraving.
That's Queensland maple.
Awesome.
So yes, hit us up. Email us info@wootenforge.com. You have as many as you like.
Maybe you want coasters, they got them. And the last question we had from the fans for now, anyway, was from Krista Estrata. Have you all tried making a set of dice from the wood on the CNC machines? Can it be even used like that to make a set of dice?
Not yet, but I'd like to.
Yeah, on dice, that'd be tough because you've got.
It can be done on the CNC. I've seen that done before. We have on our CNC machine, we've got a fourth axis. There's a rotary attachment.
Right.
Unless you think of it like a little lathe.
Yeah.
So it can spin, and the cutter heads it can sort of cut out whatever you want in a rotary fashion. So yes, you have a row of dice, you could do it that way potentially. It's not something we've tackled yet, but
it's been on the list for a while.
Yeah, I'd like to give it a crack at some point.
Nice. That's incredible. Kelso says, I need more money to buy all of those things. I need them now. Adrian says, I think in regards to what the flip castles was, you cut into a burl or something and make tiered, angled, wiggly cuts, and when you flip the piece upside down, all the wedges pop up and wedge into the shape of the castle. I have seen those, yeah, where it looks like a single block of wood, but they're all They're all cut in such a way that they will shake out and they'll pop into the castle. I have seen those on Instagram and things, and they'd be intricate though. I Supergirl says, "Oof, that is a coaster."
Yeah, chunky boy.
Meaty coasters. Meaty chunky coasters.
Yeah, you just need to put a big drink on top.
Yeah, big old, you need your tankards.
Dwarven ale.
Wonderful. Well, that's the end of the questions, and that's the end of our time as well, so perfect timing there. I love it. So, at the end of our short rest, do you feel you got your spell slots back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're ready to tackle some more of these side quests that we're on. Wonderful. Well, we'll pay our tavern bill with the delightful gold coins that we've got lying around, and let people know where people can find you.
Thank you. I'm Nathan Elder. Working at Wootenforge. You can find us at wootenforge.com. I'm actually going to be guest starring on The Eldritch Scribe Sunday and Monday. That's a secret. I don't think that's well, not a secret anymore. So you can catch me.
Exclusives.
You can catch me on the Nordic Scribe, 7 p.m. Western. But generally, you just find me around here.
Yeah, and I'm Aaron Wooden. I work at Wootenforge as well, makers of Australia's highest quality tabletop gaming accessories.
Nice.
Check us out at woodenforge.com. And thanks very much, Rob, for
Oh,
inviting
likewise,
us.
yeah. Obviously, awesome conversation. I loved hearing from the questions from chat.
It has been wonderful. It's been great for me as well. I love I love short rests. It's such a good series because I just get to meet and chat with so many amazing people. And if you are new to my channel, if you've just tuned in, or if you're here from Wootenforge's community and you're new to me, I'm Robert Hartley, GM. I'm a full-time professional dungeon master, TTRPG player, content creator, nerd. This is what I do for a living, and your bits and subs and donations and support on Patreon and things is literally how I pay my bills and how I can pay for travel to places like Perth where I can meet amazing people. So thank you very much for all of your support, and do consider sticking around in the community. Until next time,
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you to the mods, thank you to everybody for being in chat, and thank you for all your wonderful questions. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Did you know my patrons get a lot of special perks, like access to all of my homebrewed rules and stats and spells and feats and all sorts of things? Check it out.